Alrighty, and finally, we have reached to the end of the season preview. Remember, we started a month ago by talking about San Diego FC to begin the season preview series of looking at all 30 MLS team, but we have finally reached the final team. That is the Vancouver Whitecaps in the season preview, and there's no doubt that there's a lot of question surround the Vancouver Whitecaps heading into this season. There's been question when it comes to the ownership of the fact that this team is put up for sale. And ever since they announced that in the beginning of the off season, there hasn't really been any bidders to try to buy this team, and there's definitely some uncertainty when it comes to the future of this team as well. But the other thing besides that is definitely, there's the uncertainty of the roster that they had. They really didn't make a lot of changes to their roster, didn't make a lot of signing, and part of that maybe due to the fact that this team is put on sale and this ownership group doesn't really want to spend that much money when they're in the sale process. But let's also not to mention that they also lost some pieces, especially depth pieces as well, heading into this season. And then I think the big final question with this team is the new head coach coming into this job in Jesper Sorensen. Is he an upgrade compared to Vanni Sartini and getting this team in the playoffs in multiple seasons? With that being said, last season they made it to the playoffs again, finishing 8th place with 13-8-13 record and finished with 47 points. They even won a playoff series, and they were on hand of one of the more memorable playoff game that Vancouver Whitecaps fans have endured in their franchise history, absolutely destroying the Portland Timbers at Providence Park with a 5-0 victory. But unfortunately, they got eliminated once again in the first round. The problem with them not able to get past the first round it is still there, and once again they got eliminated by LAFC in the first round, just like last season, that is, or not last season, but in 2023, that is. Now the head coach of this team again, it's Jesper Sorensen. He is the new head coach of this team, and there's a lot of question: is he the right choice to do so? Even though I know he has had some high profile job in Europe, and when I mean high profile job, he did spend time with a big Danish club like Bromby as well, and we'll see whether if he can use that experience come to MLS and be successful. And then the sporting director is still Axel Schuster. He's been there since 2019. He's been up there for a while, despite the fact that there has been some criticism for Whitecaps fans in regards to him not doing a great job building this team. Now, looking at some of the transfer that they made, again, they really didn't sign a lot of player whatsoever. Most of these signings are just re-signed, and really, there's only like two guys that they've actually signed this season from other team. First, they re-signed JC Nagano and re-signed Ralph Rizzo as well. They also signed Tate Johnson, one of their super draft pick. They also brought Jaden Nelson from Rosberg BK, and then recently they got Emmanuel Sabi from Le Havre SC, and then lastly they also got Adrian Zendejas on a free transfer. Looking at players that are no longer on this team, so we have Joe Bendick. His option was declined, followed by Levante Johnson and Fafa Pico as well. That's definitely a big one there, but it's kind of understandable because Fafa Pico have said repeatedly that he wants to go back to the East Coast and wants to join the Eastern Conference team. I didn't think he was going to join Inter Miami as that Eastern Conference team, that is. But you also have Ryan Raposo that they decided not to renew his contract. That's kind of a surprising one considering I thought he's a good depth piece for this team, and I thought they would actually have got him a new contract heading into the season. They also declined the option of Alexander Schwab, and they also sell Diver Caicedo to Junior FC. And then the biggest transfer that they made this offseason is decide not to keep Stuart Armstrong for another season. So he was only there for a couple of months, but now he's going to be going back to England with Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, I can understand that they want to open a DP spot, maybe look for another dynamic players on the attack to get them over the hump. But if you thought that last season bringing Stuart Armstrong is the guy to do so, then why in the world did they think of just letting him go that quickly? I mean, if they were going to do that in the first place, they might as well not sign Stuart Armstrong in the first place last season. Now, look at the first 5 game of the season. So instantly they're gonna have a rematch of the play-in round against the Portland Timbers. And as I said about the Timbers in the season preview, yeah, Portland is not going to be nice to Vancouver in this game. I mean, they definitely want revenge after the 5-0 beatdown that they suffer in the playing round. But then after that, it doesn't get any easier as well. Their first game at home and their home opener is against the defending MLS Cup champion, that is the LA Galaxy. Then they have an all Canadian affair against Montreal. Following that, then they go on the road to play against FC Dallas before returning home to face against the Chicago Fire. Looking at the last 5 games, they play at home against the Philadelphia Union before going on the road to play against Sporting KC and the Seattle Sounders. Then they return home for the final 2 game, first playing against the San Jose Earthquakes and then against FC Dallas. So, when you look at the last 5 games, there are definitely some easy opponent that they could be facing as well. A lot of the team that they could be faced are going to be teams that are kind of on the fringe of playoff contention. Well, except of course the Seattle Sounders. That team looked like could be one of the better team in the Western Conference. But besides that, all these other teams seems like they could be either playoff contention or just maybe teams that are not going to make it to the playoffs. So in case if they need a playoff push, at least they get maybe a relatively easy schedule to finish the season. And I say maybe because obviously a lot can change with this team. Now, looking at the strength of this team, I think it's still the attack of this team, especially, the dynamic duo of Ryan Gaul and Brian White. And I tell you how much I love that dynamic duo. It's one of the most lethal dynamic duo in this league. Both of those guys really carry this Whitecaps team for the past couple of years, and I expect them to do the same thing again heading into this season. The big weakness of this team is definitely the depth and the unpredictability with the new head coach. Again, the depth, that's going to be something that they need to really address. I mean, you look at some of the depth pieces that I mentioned that is no longer on this team. Yeah, they need to replace them, and the fact that they haven't really quite do so is kind of the reason why a lot of Whitecaps fans are a little bit concerned heading into this season, because if you build a team that is a very hollow kind of team where you might have most of your starters, and you can be a competitive team when you have the best 11, but when injuries does happen, which we know that it can definitely happen to an MLS team, that could be a huge concern for this Whitecaps team because they really don't have a lot of depth besides that. And then, of course, the unpredictability with the new head coach with Jesper Sorensen. We'll see whether or not if he can get the ground running. And in some way, I think he does have the pressure of getting things going. Consider, Vanny Sartini was so well loved in the Whitecaps fan base, and I'm pretty sure Whitecaps fans are very sad to see him go. Even though I think realistically, I think it was kind of the right choice that they had to move on from Vanny Sartini. Vanny Sartini did as much as he could to get this team over the hump, just couldn't really quite do so in the end. And I can understand maybe the Whitecaps are thinking a new direction of, well, if we need to have a guy to get us over the hump, maybe a new head coach might be the way to do so. But certainly the first free big question of this team is in regards to the ownership situation. So as I mentioned before, in the beginning of the season, they decided to announce that they're going to sell the team to a new ownership group. To this day, we still haven't seen any updates of whether or not if they're working hard right now to get the sale. And it's not easy to get any ownership group to buy in with the Vancouver Whitecaps, especially from what I heard, the report fees was like something like $400 million, and with the way that the Canadian market has already been in a downturn, no ownership group is going to really commit that. That feels like it's a little bit too expensive to do. So because of that, again, there's that uncertainty future of what is going to happen to the Vancouver Whitecaps. I know there are also some people have said that the worst case scenario is that this team could get relocated to another team if there's no new owner on this team, which it could be a possibility. But I think that's just kind of where it's like the worst case scenario, and we might have another save the crew situation over here. But yeah, the uncertainty is definitely there. I really hope the Whitecaps still stay in Vancouver. Vancouver is one of the bigger market in Canada. It's actually the third biggest market in Canada that is, and I think, even though I know with the rise of the CPL is kind of the reason why we don't see any more Canadian team heading into MLS. Always love to see that we still have the free Canadian team that to play in this league, and let's just hope that eventually they'll figure out their ownership situation because with these new ownership situation that they still haven't ironed out, that's I think is kind of plays the big part of why they haven't really been spending a lot of money on some of the transfer to improve the roster, and that's kind of what frustrates a lot of Whitecaps fans because they know that this ownership before has already been cheap, but now it's almost like there's really an excuse for them to do so because they're not gonna really decided to spend money in the process of transferring a new ownership because why would a old ownership that is looking to transfer into a new ownership would want to spend money if they're in the process uh, of giving this team to the new owner, that is. Now, the second big question is again in regards to Jesper Sorensen. Is he the right man to do so? So, anytime when you decide to sign a foreign head coach that has no history in MLS and doesn't really know too much of the ins and out of the rules of MLS, that's a big risk. It is a big risk, no matter how talented a head coach could be. It is a big risk, and it is something that as I said, for Jesper Sorensen, he's gonna have to get the ground running. I mean, when you look at this team, it is still a very talented team, and you expect this team should be a playoff team if they are able to stay healthy. Because again, it goes back to what I said about the depth of this team, not a strong point. But with the question is if Jasper Sorensen is the right man. If he doesn't perform relatively well, I mean the Whitecaps fans are gonna quickly turn on him relatively quick because anytime when you decide to remove a fan favorite like Vanni Sartini, the next guy in better deliver result or else things can turn sour for this team relatively quick. And then of course the last big question with this team has been a big question that they've been asking for over the year. Can they finally get a DP that can put them over the hump? So with the sale of Stuart Armstrong, I'm thinking that they're looking to try and to get another DP player. They were originally rumored to get a DP player. I think they were originally rumored to get Doretti, player that is very talented that's currently playing Liga MX. I think he's still in Mazatlan right now. Obviously, that move didn't happen, and now it seems like they're looking for other option because again, when you look at this team, I think that this team throughout the years we always said that this team is one piece away to maybe be a top contender, and that of course is the case. While they have those two talented dynamic duo in goal and White, I feel like they would need another piece to really solidify this to be a contender, and we'll see whether or not if they can do so. And then finally, the expectation for this team. Well, if things would go well, and if they do find a new ownership, or if they decided to finally sign some depth pieces, because again, there are still some lucrative free agency that is out there within the league, then I think this team can definitely make it to the playoffs. But obviously, the other big expectation is get out off the first round because with the mindset of hiring a new head coach from this Whitecaps team, they're thinking that getting a new head coach might be enough for them to get over the hump of getting past the first round. And we'll see whether or not if that is going to be the case. Because if that's not going to be the case, then yeah, fans are going to have to question this the front office decision of, well, you decided to bring a new head coach to trying to get over the problem of not getting past the first round, and unfortunately, it's not showing it. They're still stuck getting out of the first round, or even worse, if this team can regress to a point where they're back to being a team that regularly miss out on the playoffs. Because besides the good period of time this Whitecaps team has enjoyed in the last couple of years, this team has always been known as a bottom feeder or near the bottom of the standings. The team hasn't had a lot of success in the league, and really the last couple of years has been arguably the most successful time that this team has ever had, making the playoffs and also winning multiple Canadian championship as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at the Vancouver Whitecaps in the season preview. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of the season preview. And if you're a Whitecaps fan, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, the free big question, and the expectation is for this team heading into this season. Tomorrow I'll probably start doing prediction video. Maybe start do a well. Actually, tomorrow I'll probably do the prediction video in terms of which team most likely is going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, because that is actually going to be starting on Tuesday. The Whitecaps is actually one of the team that is going to be involved in the competition as well. But I know I have multiple videos that I have to do. I got to do the prediction of both tables, do the hot seat index, and also the emotion index as well. And then of course we also got to do the preview and the review for those Concacaf Champions Cup game. A lot of things I have to do in these next couple of days. Do not be surprised. There's going to be a lot of video that's going to be uploaded onto my channel in these next couple of days. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to see a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.